comes from state and local government. But where the problem of illiteracy is the greatest, there is the very area where the resources are the least. And that's why we really do need federal leadership to move on this problem.
And I just, there's so many people out there as adults that are hurting deeply inside. Some are school teachers that are teaching, but they are getting by, but inside they are not reading. They've never been able to read. There's even at school, there was two in the same family, and when they came into the program, it was the first time that they knew each one couldn't read, and neither one of them wanted to go in because they'd seen the other one go in and they was afraid that they were a teacher. So we have a deep inner scars inside of us, and we do need funding. And this program, particularly with IBM, is a real super program. And Senator Simon, I'm a little bit trembly and scared, so if you want to ask some questions or tell me go on, you know, go ahead.
You're doing very, very well, let me tell you. And Senator Metzenbaum and Senator Kassebaum will tell you very rarely do you hear applause in a witness room.
Who are here today. I would like to help non-readers of our United States be close to one another and reach out to their dreams of children, teens, adults, and senior citizens so they can learn at school and learn to read for themselves and not put their heads down in shame anymore or be afraid at school or at their jobs or with their families. Thank you. Love in Jesus, Gloria A. Waddles. Thank you for opening doors for me today and all those others out there that do not know yet there's a literacy program, because I did not. Just by an accident, a girl that I asked what she was going to do was taking in this child psychology class, and it happened the lady turned out to be a tutor. I did not know that Effingham had a literacy program. So we need more people like me, other students coming out and telling their stories locally and statewide, so someone that's out there that perhaps turns to the TV will know that there's help out there.
Noticed in the press maybe a little skirmish about who was going to be the spokesperson for education in this administration.
All of our citizens. If I may, Mr. Chairman, I will read a very brief statement, and then I will submit for full coverage. Be excused. I will introduce myself.
You make sure you meet
here. I want to meet
Gloria Waddles.
Like that.
In fact, indicated. Next, we are most concerned about what takes place, as has been indicated, at the local level.
This will be true for all witnesses will be here statements.
Thank you. We're pleased to be here to talk about an issue of literacy efforts in the START program. Secretary Sullivan is committed to this strong commitment has manifested itself by the recent publication of several regulations required by the Act.
Disarmament agency was before us. We face a problem in the international arena on the arms race. We unfortunately face an arms race at home too. And the question is, how do we responsibly deal with that? I'd like to show this is an ad that just appeared in my hometown paper in rural southern Illinois. I don't know if you can see that out there. Last chance to own an assault type pistol. Only $3.99. Limit 3 per customer. Among other things, it advertises a 32-round magazine. I think we have to recognize we have a problem. Both the bill by Senator Metzenbaum and Senator DeConcini call for additional imprisonment if you are found guilty of a crime using one of these weapons. I think just about everyone is in agreement upon that. But we cannot seem to reach any kind of an accord on what we ought to do in the way of banning certain type of weapons. I called a meeting in my office yesterday with representatives of the National Rifle Association and representatives of Senator DeConcini and Senator Metzenbaum, but there was no agreement reached, and frankly, it looks to me unlikely that we are going to reach any agreement. But the problem is with us. I hope we can get action and get action quickly on a problem that affects the lives of a great many people.
Duffy's saying, but in addition to that, what I think you're going to see in this country is for the safety of police officers is what we now see in some third world countries where police officers are walking the streets with machine guns strapped over their shoulder in total disregard when one has to pull the trigger on it as to where all that ammunition may be flying. These weapons out here that will penetrate the police officer's vest. We see an escalation in the society, in our profession, for police officers to increase the firepower of the police officer on the street from what was just a few years ago a standard 38 caliber Smith & Wesson or Colt weapon to now where we're going to 9mm with more firepower to 45 calibers, and then our SWAT units are, it's absolutely necessary that they be armed with armament comparable to that armament which they encounter. So you see these weapons already sliding into the police arsenals, the machine guns and the heavy sniper, anti-sniper rifles that are necessary to do our job. And what we're saying to you and to the Congress and to the people of the United States, we do not want to see an armed society that looks like they're incarcerated by the police of this country. First of all, there's not enough of us. There's 471,000 full-time law enforcement officers approximately in the United States of America with 50 states and 240 million people. We need the support of our citizens. That's why we support law-abiding citizens to keep and bear firearms in their home. Totally support that. But I think there is a limit to that domestic arms race. We do not want to see it escalate to what it has in some of the third world countries.
We find that something must be done, and soon. Our police officers can no longer tolerate this situation on the street. Magazines. The basic construction of a weapon is meant to be rapid fire and so forth. I'm sure there are many other elements that could probably be emphasized too, which make these man-killer weapons,
Chief
not
Dolomite.
deer killing.
In Stockton, California, is one such example. In the 9 years since I've been at Cook County Hospital, the profile of penetrating trauma has shifted. In the past, the typical victim would have sustained a single, medium-velocity handgun injury to an isolated body region. Many of the chest and extremity injuries just required a diagnostic workup, some simple non-operative treatment, and observation alone. Only approximately 20% would actually need operative intervention. Although all penetrating gunshot wounds to the abdomen are operated on, in the past, the majority of these patients were in stable condition, and the injuries seen at operation could be easily managed with only minimal need for transfusion of blood. The general expectation was for a good outcome for the victim. Recently, we have observed a disturbing trend. Victims are now coming in with multiple bullet wounds through many different parts of their bodies, in shock, barely alive. Many times, it is difficult to decide which organ system to address first. It is not atypical to have several such victims come in, especially on a Friday or Saturday night, and require immediate life-saving operative intervention. A week ago, upon opening one such abdomen, the liver had a 10-centimeter deep stellate crack with blood pouring out. The colon and duodenum were split through and through, the kidney was shattered, and the major blood vessels were blown apart. Unfortunately, 30 liters of fluid, 24 units of blood, and many hours later, the patient died on the operating room table. Next door, simultaneously, 2 other teams were engaged in a similar life-saving struggle. Another victim, shot through the chest, abdomen, and arm, was having his chest and abdomen simultaneously opened. Unfortunately, he bled to death. This scenario is becoming more frequent. The key that ties these victims together and has made a change in the penetrating trauma profile is the wounding agent. The most popular of these weapons in our city are the Tec-9, Mac 9, 10, and 11, and the Uzi. These are high-velocity, 9mm weapons and cost approximately $300 apiece on the streets of Chicago. With an hour of time, a drill, and a screw, the Uzi can be turned into a fully automatic weapon that will discharge an entire 30 rounds with one touch of a finger. High-velocity weapons are much more deadly than the medium-velocity handguns of old. When a high-velocity bullet hits the body, it forms a temporary cavity and expands the cylindrical permanent cavity cut by the bullet to 10 to 15 times the diameter of the bullet. Now, with these automatic weapons, this destructive power is further multiplied to 30 times. We have been warned by the Chicago police that more and more of these weapons are being confiscated on our streets, so we can expect an increasing number of these catastrophic injuries. It will be a long, hot summer for us on the Cook County Trauma Unit and in other major inner-city hospitals. It is critical to stop the proliferation of weapons that make the hope of life-saving medical intervention impossible. My colleagues and I do not mind the hard work and odd hours taking care of these trauma patients, but we would like a fighting chance. We're talking about tens of thousands of dollars, not just for the operation, the blood products, for the equipment we need to use. I mean, that's the thing that concerns us the most, is that, you know, in our efforts to try to save these people, we go to every extreme that we can. Because we have short transport times. The victims arrive very quickly. They've only been down a short amount of time, so we just go full court press. And we will go as far as 24 units in the end of our blood bank. And it's very unfortunate, going to be costly for us this summer.
Weapons. This hearing was requested by Senator Specter specifically so the administration would have an opportunity to express its opinions on the...
And the specific weapons are listed in this legislation. And I would welcome, either by the administrations, take these 4 gentlemen, Mr. Chairman, and take the outline. We welcome these 4 individuals, appreciate their coming here to testify. If we haven't got the courage to deal with this legislation, Mr. Chairman.
Within a minute, he was rescued, the fellow escaped. This clearly illustrates the bullet holes that hit his shirt above his nameplate. This is the vest that saved his life. Many of these